when I was teaching in 2020, I had a student who took a pair of scissors and whipped it at the wall, at a student's head, actually, out of nowhere.
Before we get started with our episode, we're going to hear from our sponsor. Ladies, we all know that feeling of when you come home from a long day at work and all you want to do is take off your uncomfortable bra. I know that feeling all too well, which is why I started buying from Honeylove. And it doesn't just stop there. They have shapewear, leggings, tank tops, all equally as comfortable. Treat yourself to the best bras on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/Rebecca. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/Rebecca to find your perfect fit. Now let's get started with this week's episode.
Waterfall, waterfall.
That's good ASMR.
It is.
I love that so much. What a good kindergarten way to start.
I got a million of them.
Oh, well, I was about to ask you what's your other favorite, but we just established that we can't remember so many of them.
I really can't remember.
Tell me what you just said about the one, your favorite.
Oh, bum.
Yeah.
That one apparently, okay, I don't know the lore.
Okay.
But I know that somebody told me that Shaving a Haircut's 2 Bits song, dun 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 dun, is from like a minstrel thing, and it's got like racially
We'll have to look this
bad backgrounds.
Really quick, check your mic just to make sure it's on, because I just get paranoid. Okay, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, it's like a racist thing that I didn't know.
We're gonna need to look that up.
I know.
I feel like, there's so many things in pop culture and in the world that like you look back and you're like, ooh, bad look, but you don't know until you know.
No,
and I want to know so bad.
I've started looking up like common idioms, like common sayings that we say, because I want to always look up the origin of them, because that was actually the thing that started me, that I was like, oh, I had no freaking clue the origins of that, and I never even thought about like where certain things come from. So now if I say like a saying, I Google it and I'm like, origin, to like see where it came from.
Interesting.
And like a spade's a spade is also, like, a spade is also something that's racially insensitive, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I did not know either. I learn something new every day.
As you should. And which is very healthy for a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Frazzled, Aria, what do you like for the people to call you?
They can call me whatever, but they're always very scared when they find out that my name's Ariel. Sorry. But they
Why is that bad?
People say that it's like finding out your teacher's name.
Oh.
Like they think of me as Frazz, and they never really think like, oh, she has a government name, and then when they find out my name is Ariel.
Name.
Yeah.
Like Chef PK, I just found out his name is Paul, and I'm like,
I have no idea who that is.
I met him at a YouTube thing last night.
Of course.
We were both hosting the event, and he was like, oh, I'm Chef PK, but people, you can call me Paul, and I'm like, no. No,
I don't think I will.
I was like, can I call you Chef? And he's like, yes, Chef.
Yes, Chef. Oh my gosh. Anytime my husband and I are in the kitchen, we do that.
Yes, Chef.
Yes, Chef.
What are you? An idiot sandwich.
Oh.
I love that one.
That GIF I use a lot. I use that GIF a lot. About myself, like like, if I'm late somewhere, I'm like, what are you, an idiot sandwich? Like, I love that GIF.
I love it so much.
Gordon Ramsay is actually a very sweet man.
Yes, he is. He's so good with kids.
He is.
He's very, very gentle with the kid chefs, and I appreciate that
Master
so
Chef
much.
Jr. just has my heart. It's so cute.
That's adorable.
Yes.
I love it. Well, so you aren't in the classroom. Do people know you're not in the classroom?
They do.
Okay. I wanted to make sure. I was like, oh, no.
No, I started putting it in my bio because people just never knew, and I didn't want them to think that I was like trying to be something I'm not, and I was like, because people miss videos,
Yes. Well, it's been 3 years. People still don't understand I'm not in the classroom.
So I just put a little teacher on hiatus or teacher out of the classroom, whatever. So,
but when you were teaching, you were a kindergarten teacher.
I was.
Bless your heart, man.
Man, but I say that about every other grade level, because I taught third for 1 year, and I was like, wow, this is really hard. But we all have our wheelhouses.
You didn't know. It's so funny because like different personality types mesh so well in different spheres. But every single time people ask me what I taught, and I think, guess. So many, they always guess kindergarten.
Oh,
they always, and I'm like, me?
I mean, because you get along so well, so I guess that does make sense.
Well, like we get excited, and we're very fun, and we're very, my room looked like a kindergarten classroom. I decorated it like one, I act like one, but no, I couldn't.
I get it.
Because, like, you just have to be a kindergarten teacher, like, I would get really concerned with, like, the crying. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't, what do I do? No, what do I do?
It's hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. And, like, I like being able to tell the kids, like, I don't want to talk to you today. And they know that I don't really, like, mean it.
Right.
And I could never, like, see the look on a kindergartner's face if they thought I meant it.
Right, because they don't get sarcasm until, like, age 7, allegedly.
Yes. And so that stresses me out.
Yeah.
But, like, when did you decide kindergarten?
Preschool.
Really?
Yes, I was literally in preschool, and I remember saying, I want to teach the big kids, which at the time was just kindergarten. And I loved my kindergarten teacher. Just freaking loved her. And then in my whole life, I was just like, I want to be a kindergarten teacher.
I love that.
And then I just was.
I think so many people don't understand how important kindergarten is to development for children.
Huge.
So I want to know, like, what are some of the big things that kindergartners are doing and are learning, and, like, why people should not skip kindergarten?
Man, I'm so glad you asked this. Taking it back in the day, kindergarten was truly like, learn your letters, learn your numbers, that's it. And whether or not we think that it should be more rigorous or should not be so rigorous, that's a whole other discussion. It is very rigorous.
Yes.
It's like in math, you're going to be counting to 20 and you're going to be doing directionality, like counting up, counting back, one-to-one correspondence, like counting one thing at a time and assigning one number to each, knowing that the last number you say is the number of things you have. I mean, just like things that I don't think people think about when you're teaching numbers and number sense. That is like huge in kindergarten. And they're adding and subtracting within 10, of course, but like it's more than that.
Yeah, the concept of numbers and letters in general is such a big deal.
It is. And in the beginning of the year, when you're assessing kids to see where they come in at, so often you'll give them this sheet of letters and you'll say, okay, friend, what does this letter say? And they'll go, beep, boop. No, it says or whatever, but you're not going to say that, but they just don't know what a letter sound is, so they make any sound they can think of.
Right.
It's like really interesting I love that part of it, is like seeing how their brains work. And then, working with them. But so for reading, reading and writing, it's a lot. They're doing, by the end of the year, they're writing a full sentence.
Wow.
And like sometimes multiple sentences. Like my school, we would do like 3 to 4 sentences, which is like a paragraph.
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
So yeah, it's
in
intense.
kindergarten.
In kindergarten.
So how often? So I know that there's a really big debate in the kindergarten world about like kids who come into kindergarten already having been helped at home, and like how much parents should be prepping kids for kindergarten, like whether it comes to the sound of letters or even starting to learn to read or things like that. Like, first of all, I have so many questions. First of all, how often do kids come into kindergarten already knowing how to read? Is that a thing at all?
No.
Not a thing?
Not
Okay.
in my experience.
Okay.
Not in those populations that I've worked in.
Maybe I'm thinking of 3rd grade. Or 1st grade, sorry. Maybe I'm thinking of 1st grade.
Maybe, but I think a lot of parents come in and they do say, oh, my kid can read, and I'll say, okay, great, and then we'll assess them, and what we find out is that they've memorized their favorite book, which is a huge part of learning to read, actually, or they can say the ABCs in order because they know the song. So they'll say, oh, my kid knows all their letters. Do they know them when they're scrambled up? No. They just know the song. So,
Makes sense.
Stuff like that happens all the time.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so then how big of a role do you think parents should be playing in, like, helping their kids learn how to read? Because I know that there's definitely a privilege issue of like some parents just genuinely do not have the time. They're working. Not every kid has a stay-at-home parent. Not every kid has a parent who is available to help with homework. So like what tell me all your thoughts about like that issue, because I know that's a really big issue, especially in like kindergarten and 1st grade.
Yeah, when we would come to back to school night, actually, this is a little scandalous. I would have like all my parents in the room, and my school required homework. Okay. And I would say to my group of parents, if they ask you if I said this, I did not say this, but I really don't care if you do the homework or not. Like, I don't think that that's the biggest
Homework for
thing.
kindergarten? Wow.
Yeah. And I would just say, you know what? I don't really care about that. If a lot of parents, because when we were in school, we had homework, a lot of parents come in expecting it. And that's just something they want. They're like, where is the homework? Okay, well, here it is. If you want to do some extra stuff with your kid at home to reinforce what we're doing in the classroom, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important thing I say to them is read with your kid. Read them books. I have a million resources. Like, I can get you some digital books. I can get you stapled books that I send home with you. If you have no books at home, I can hook you up with a library. I will move whatever I need to get you reading materials, because spending time together as a family and reading is just so huge.
Yeah.
Just even the act of reading. And something that we would send home with them is like little tips and tricks that I didn't know until I was teaching kindergarten, where it's like, when you read a word, point to the first letter of the word and track what you're reading to show them, like, because one of the questions you ask a kindergartner is, what's a word? Can you point to a word? What's a letter? Can you point to a letter in that? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Little things. So, like, parents can really, that's huge. Like,
Yes.
having that something to do with them, and it can be, like, quick. It doesn't have to be highly involved. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what else are kindergartners doing? Like, what else does it look like? I don't even know how I'm asking this question right now. I'm so ADHD right now.
Me too. So I'm going to follow your thread.
Yeah.
We're going to get
like, what else are some big things within kindergarten that are either like really important or huge deals that like regular adults might not think about or might not realize or might not understand?
life skills.
Okay.
Oh my word. Life skills is huge. Like, I mean, oh my, there's a million things I can think of right now, but like knowing how to engage with other children, like how to wait your turn, knowing what you do in the bathroom, or if you need support in the bathroom, what kind of support do you need? Does your kid need support? Make sure you call the front office and you're like, hey, this is what my kid needs. Like, because we can't get in there and like button pants and stuff. But parents really expect that. Like, oh, in daycare, they helped my kid. Can you go in there and help? No, I can't pick up a child. I can't go in the bathroom. I can't take their thumb out of their mouth. You know, I can't do
Can't
those-
touch them.
No.
There should never be any reason that a teacher has a hands on a children. I don't try.
Ever. So yeah, but it's, you know, those types of things where that kind of independence and almost in a way like self-advocacy, which sounds crazy to ask of a kindergartner, but like knowing if your child is able to like ask for help, or like at lunchtime, can they open everything in their lunchbox?
Yeah.
If they can't, like opening
can
it
they-
for
yeah,
them, or
asking for
do they
help.
ask, or are they just going to sit there? Some kids will just sit and wait for the whole lunch period to pass by because they can't open their orange, and they don't think to ask. Things like that, like, and it's like that's part of growing up, where you.
Yeah, but you still need like parental guidance of like, you know.
Some grown up can help you like navigate.
Yeah, find a grown up that is nearby and ask a question and finding a grown up that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. And I've gotten so many stories from kindergarten teachers who have had weird requests when it comes to the bathroom.
Oh my word.
Like, I have so many in my head. I want to tell you all of them. Like one was this parent contacted a kindergarten teacher and was like, hey, we're having a little bit of a dilemma. I'm hoping maybe you might be able to help us out. And the teacher's like, I can do my best.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on. And the parent's like, well, Lucy here seems to have swallowed her baby sister's favorite passy. He's, oh my gosh.
I'm scared of where this is going.
Is she okay? Like, do we need to take her to the doctor? Like, what? Is she all right? And, oh, yeah. She's fine. She's good, but it was the baby's favorite passy. She's, oh, well, I'm sure you can find another one on Amazon or at Target or something like that. And it's, yeah, well, that's our plan B. But we were just kind of hoping that you could, like, be aware if she were to use the bathroom. Like, do you see it? Is it there? She's, ma'am, I'm not going to be going through your daughter's poo.
No.
Well, just like when you're helping her with the bathroom, does she, ma'am, I don't do that. And this parent was just dumbfounded, had no idea. no idea that this teacher wasn't actively helping her daughter, like,
Holy cow.
oh my gosh, like, didn't even think it would be a thing that another adult is not, like, up in their kid's business. What?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, people
assume
a lot. I think that kindergarten is very, like, daycare-ish.
No.
But it's not. Like, once you hit that public school system or whatever, it's, like, very different.
Yes.
Yeah, very
and
different.
I found from a lot of the stories that I received that people don't teach, like, bathroom etiquette either.
No.
Some things are very common sense that you are to teach children, you know. Don't try to open someone's door. Like, I feel like those things are very common sense. Mm-hmm. But someone else sent me a story about how she had a little kindergartner go to the bathroom. And they didn't have, like, a bathroom in the classroom. It was right next to the classroom. So, you know, she had the teacher assistant kind of just poke her head out and check on her, check on them and stuff like that. So this student comes back from the bathroom, and she notices that the kid is chewing.
Uh-oh.
And she looks and she goes...
No, I think this happened to one of my kids.
I don't know. It's weirdly specific.
Let's see.
She said, Emily, did you, like, try to sneak your snack did you try to sneak your snack early or something? She's, no. She's, you positive? She's, yeah. She's, okay. What are you eating? And she's like, well, I found Skittles.
No, you did not.
She said, where did you find Skittles? She goes, I found them in the bathroom. She's like, you found, like, a pack of Skittles, like, on the sink or something? She goes, no. I found an orange Skittle on the floor next to the trash can.
No.
And she said, I really like that flavor. So she goes, no, I need you to go spit that out right now. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Swallows it right there. In true kindergarten fashion.
Oh, my word. No, I had a boy eat a urinal cake.
What is a urinal cake? We're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsor. Ladies, we all know that feeling of when you come home from a long day at work and all you want to do is take off your uncomfortable bra. I know that feeling all too well, which is why I started buying from Honeylove. Their bras are so comfortable. I mean, I kind of forget that I'm wearing them, and that's why they're my new go-to. And it doesn't just stop there. Honeylove has so much more than just comfortable bras. They have shapewear, leggings, tank tops, all equally as comfortable. Honeylove isn't just about supporting women, it's about empowering women. Treat yourself to the best bras on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/Rebecca. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/Rebecca to find your perfect fit. After your purchase, when they asked how you heard about them, please support our show and let them know that we sent you. Elevate your comfort and elevate your style with bras that empower your lifestyle and flexibility. Now, back to the episode.
So,
what is that?
not good. Okay, it is poison, first of all.
Wait, it actually?
Yes!
Wait. Okay, go ahead.
In a urinal, there's like a thing to, I guess, keep them fresh, but it's a chemical, it's like a cleaner puck that is like a thing, and he like, obviously he immediately was like, blah, 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 and came out of the bathroom and, you know, disgusting, horrifying, had to go to the office and probably go to the doctor because...
That's chemicals.
Yeah.
What would the parents say?
A hell of chemicals. I didn't get that far. There are some things that I say to the administration, call please. I don't want to call and explain that one. So, and they never came to me back with like a, hey, this is what happened afterwards, and I was too scared to ask. So,
you reminded me of my favorite story I've ever been sent, and I did make this a skit.
Okay.
And luckily, I can't even imagine if the parents weren't cool about this.
Oh my God. Tell me.
So this kindergarten teacher called home. This teacher was so scared for the parents to answer the phone. She was dreading this. She's like, God, please don't pick up. But someone picked up. Mom picked up, and she's like, hey, Miss Smith, I just wanted to let you know there was a little incident at recess today. And she's, oh no, is Jimmy okay? Jimmy kind of got bit by a turtle. And she's, oh no. how did that happen? Well, he was playing by the fence and he saw the turtle on the other side of the fence. So he just kind of reached through and grabbed it and it bit him. And she's like, oh, is his finger okay? Is his finger bleeding or anything? And she was, it didn't bite his finger. She said, what?
No.
She said, for whatever reason, he tried to eat it like a sandwich.
Jimmy.
And it bit him in the tongue.
Oh,
Pretty hard. And she said, his tongue was bleeding a little bit, but he's fine. Other than that, he's fine. I just needed to call you and tell you. And it was silent for a few too long moments. And the parent goes, you know what? That checks out, man. That checks out.
I could see my child doing that. She loves a turtle. Loves a turtle.
Crazy.
We went to the park once, and this girl was chasing a turtle, and I was like, no, I don't know what markings a snapping turtle has on it. Not here.
How old is she now?
2.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That is crazy. I remember when I met her.
I know.
She was so little.
It's crazy. I'm going to bring her on Saturday, I think.
Please do.
Yeah.
My panel's Saturday. Bring her to the panel. Yeah,
Fun.
12:30.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I
She
love
likes
that.
the squishmallow thing.
As she should. Bring her Friday.
Yeah?
Because that's Friday night is when it's closed down for us.
Am I allowed to bring her to that? This is a whole
She's
other
like under
conversation,
2. She's under 2.
but- Okay, amazing.
Yeah. Why would she not? You're really going to buy a badge for a 2-year-old? No.
I just go and they give me a yellow one that says child. It's
Yeah,
hilarious.
that's fine. That's perfect. Yeah, bring her. Why not?
amazing.
Anyways, no, yeah, I think you should do that. Do you, I know we've done so many episodes with teachers, and I love it. And we always talk about, people and things, whether they're students or parents or teachers or administration, that just make your life that much more difficult. So, as a kindergarten teacher, what have some of those examples looked like for you?
Honestly, I feel a lot like kindergarten gets kind of left behind in a way where we'll go to PD, professional development, and we'll be learning about something, or it's some new literacy initiative and they're talking about writing paragraphs. And I'm like, we're not quite there yet.
No.
Or what does this look like in kindergarten? Or even something like they're asking us to put something on the board and it's like, my kids can't read an objective. What am I?
Why are your objectives not on the board? Well, they can't read them.
Can't read them.
No.
What kind of supports are in place for kids that are learning English? Stuff like that. It really gets left out. And that kind of is difficult because you go to all these meetings and you want to get the most you can out of it, and they don't always apply. And I know a lot of teachers have that issue, especially in high school, because you'll be a history teacher at something for English, and you're like, okay, well, I don't really...
none of this makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't... What?
Stuff like that. So that's always difficult. And I think I also had a really hard time with my administrators understanding what behaviors are developmentally appropriate and what behaviors are something that are raise my hackles, where I'm like, we might want to document that or get assessed or flag that with a parent.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so when I was teaching in 2020, I had a student who day 2 took a pair of scissors and whipped it at the wall. At a student's head, actually. The kid moved.
It missed.
Thank God. The kid moved, stuck in the wall.
Oh my gosh.
Stuck in the wall. And I'm like, whoa, because it was cutting, whoosh, out of nowhere. And that is not a developmentally appropriate, we don't see that every day.
Right.
When I flagged it with my principal, she came in and said, well, you didn't teach them how to use scissors, so that's why he did that. And I said, girl.
No.
No, I was like, okay, well, I did go through, scissor safety because you have to. My first year teaching, I was like, okay, friends, here are the scissors. And all the kids were like, and I realized, they don't know how to.
No. They don't know. So you have to teach them.
You have to. So I did. But the whipping of the scissors at a kid's head.
That's not normal.
And it continued to escalate like that. And it was I think administrators that don't have childhood development, early childhood education experience might not understand, it's not just a normal behavior to do that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yes.
And so that's always tricky, is like you always feel like you're kind of having that discussion. And it also goes into like when you're doing any kind of assessment for like a behavior assessment or a special education assessment, some kids come in and they have parents who are like, I know my kid needs an IEP, but I have no idea how to go about that. Like,
Right.
What do I do? So you go to the admin and they're like, well, document everything. Document. Of course, like that's what we do to start the process. But then it gets frustrating when it's April and they're still saying document everything. And then, oh, it's too late in the year to do anything. So we're going to send them to first grade and they'll start over. And then ironically, it's like document. And then you keep passing. So it's one of those things sometimes in kindergarten where you have to like go to the parent and be like, hey, if you write a letter, they have to assess your kid within so many days. You know what I mean? Like you kind of give them the info that the district maybe doesn't want you to give them.
Okay.
But it's part of like why I like kindergarten so much, because I know that I can like help parents advocate for their child in a way that like they don't teach you this. They're not going to tell you if your kid needs services. Like you're probably not going to get them until second grade because of, you know,
the whole process.
The red tape.
Yeah.
COVID just made it so that there was such a backlog of assessments that those kids that they were getting on the list for assessment in kindergarten, when I was teaching third grade in 2021, 2022, those kids were in my classroom and still had not been assessed.
Wow.
And we were still waiting for some of those kids. And I would go to their team and be like, hey, what's cracking? What's going on? And they'd be like, we have been waiting since 2020 for these kids to get through the pipeline, and they're just not. And it's so frustrating. But like that's one of the things as a teacher that I'd be like, because I went through school. You have ADHD too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I went through school undiagnosed, unmedicated, everything. So like, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. I thought my freaking brain was broken.
Yeah.
So like to have kids come in with parents who are like, I see that there might be something my child needs that is a little extra, you know? Like I need an assessment. I'm so happy to be that person that's like, I know the rules. I know the rules.
Hey,
here's how you do it. Stuff like that. So,
interesting.
Yeah. So while that's like, back to your original question, like while that's part of something that's difficult in kindergarten, that's also one of the reasons that I enjoy being in that grade, because it is on so many levels a partnership with parents just as much as it is with the kids. And I love parents.
Yeah.
Which is not something you hear a lot.
No, I feel like, yes, but I feel like in high school we had a different experience, but like this is still true. And I say this so often, that when teachers talk about awful parents, we're really only talking about 5% of the parents that we come into contact with. Because the reality is most interactions with parents are neutral interactions. Yeah. And in high school, I don't hear from anybody unless it's something really good or really bad.
Right.
So like 95% I just don't hear from.
Yeah.
In kindergarten, that's got to be so different because it's such a hands-on experience for both sides. Like in high school, the kids are kind of doing their own thing, like they have their own autonomy. They have their own thoughts. Like they're way more independent than in kindergarten. So it makes sense that you would have so much more interaction with all these parents than I would. Yeah. And it also shows like you love the parents because you interact with all of them. And when only 2% are crappy, that makes sense.
Yeah. And like, honestly, so many of the times that I've had a negative experience with a parent or something that could have been negative, they're just feeling like a really heightened emotion. Like, baby is going to school for the first time, or maybe even when I was in third grade, I mean, parents generally don't feel listened to all the time. Yes. Or they feel like their child is being targeted or branded as a bad kid. And if they come to me and they're like really heightened, I'm the first person to be like, I'm just as bad as you. Like, I want to know what's happening. Why do you feel this way? And let's fix it. Mm-hmm. Like, come on, let's chit chat. Because I can see that it's not at me. They want the best for their baby. Their heart's walking around in my room.
I think what a lot of people don't understand is that 99% of the time, because I never do blanket statements.
Yeah.
But 99% of the time when it comes to issues between teachers and parents, people don't understand that both parties, 99% of the time, genuinely want the best for this kid.
Yeah.
And they might have differing opinions on what that looks like.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, both wholeheartedly believe they are doing what's best for the kid. You know, sometimes parents genuinely think that their kid needs more help or more this or blah, blah, blah. And that might not be the case.
Right.
Like, if the teachers aren't giving more, doing more, blah, 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 9 times out of 10, well, even though 8 times out of 10, it's because they genuinely don't need it, or it's not fair to the other kids, or it doesn't make sense, or that's just not how things are done, or it will hurt them more in the long run.
Yeah.
Like, the teachers aren't going to baby your kid just to get the grade, because that doesn't teach them anything.
Right.
That's actually counterproductive in the long run. Like, you're looking at short-term goals of grades. Teachers are looking at long-term goals of be a human being.
Right.
Like, learn how to do your work, learn how to come to class on time, things like that.
Right.
On the other hand, sometimes there are things that teachers might just not be aware of. Like, I once had, in high school, I had some girls come to me and tell me that there was some bullying going on in one of their elective classes. And I was like, oh, okay, I will talk to their parents, I will email them, I'll talk to that teacher. And she's like, no, I don't want you to do anything. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, I just wanted to stop. And I'm like, but you don't want me to talk to them. And she's like, well, no, because I don't want them to know. And I'm like, well, I just need to know what you want me to do here. Like, because obviously I don't want you to be treated this way, but I can't stop it unless it's addressed.
Right.
It needs to be addressed that this is happening. And she's like, well, just forget it. I don't want you to do anything.
God, she's so me.
And literally,
So me.
literally like 2 days later, I got an email from a parent all upset because I didn't talk to these girls yet. And I was like, she specifically asked me not to. And I did flag the teacher to be aware of it, to try and catch it in the act, you know, so that there could be like not a, oh, she told me, but hey, I saw this kind of thing. Yeah. I did flag the teacher. But, you know, they weren't able to catch anything in those 2 days, you know? And so the parents are, well, why is this happening? Why aren't you doing anything? Why don't you care? You want my child to be bullied. And I'm like, no,
yeah.
I'm just trying to handle this in a way that's not going to upset her further since she specifically asked me not to.
Yeah.
There's only so many things I can go about it. And that's like a good example of like, everyone's acting in the best interest of the child.
Yeah.
People just have different opinions on what that looks like. That doesn't necessarily make anyone the good guy or the bad guy. And yeah, I feel in that moment of, God, this parent doesn't understand. And in that moment, she's thinking, God, this teacher doesn't care.
Right.
But that's not actually reality. Those are just our perspectives.
Yeah. It's a very human thing.
Yes.
It's just it's so tough to
Yes.
like communicate authentically about stuff like that.
Yes.
I think.
And are there times where either teachers or parents are being way out of line?
Yes.
For sure. Ridiculous requests.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah.
But again, it's all like everyone's just trying to do what they can for the kid.
Yeah, and like it's yeah.
Yes. 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 Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh.
So like, what are some other things that people might not understand or misconceptions that might surround teaching kindergarten or kindergartners or like the curriculum or anything about?
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we went through that the curriculum is way harder than people think it is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and homework, I don't really think anything about homework.
I mean, most homework in most ages, people are like, meh.
Yeah, I mean, or they should be, in my humble opinion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I have anything else. I think
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. So, like, what are some common issues that you find with, like, I'm trying to think of how to word this. What are some issues that you typically find with other teachers? Like, have you ever butted heads with other teachers when teaching kindergarten?
No.
Really?
Yeah, no. I really haven't.
I love that for you. Yeah. That's so funny. Because I've never had another teacher guess. It's like, yeah, no, I've never had an issue with a teacher.
No. I had an issue with a teacher in third grade, but it really was just like a personality thing.
Okay, but tell me that.
She was a very old school teacher. She had on her wall a paper from 1997 Teacher of the Year. Mm-hmm. And she was very old school in the sense that she would like touch my students.
Oh.
One of my girls had fabulous, shaggy, like emo hair.
Uh-huh.
I was like in her eyes, but that's the look, okay?
Yeah.
She came over to my line and like pushed her hair out of her eyes.
That's like the number one rule, you don't touch kids.
And you don't touch their hair. I was like, don't touch my students, please. And
as you should.
She was like, excuse me, like looking, because I couldn't really contain myself. My line was there, like my third graders were there. But I was like, are you okay? And then I was like, don't do that ever again. I said, in my classroom, we actually talk about not touching hair.
Yeah.
So we don't do that. And she would come to my line. I'm not the most, I don't know if you know this about me, I'm not the biggest about like arbitrary rules that I don't like.
Right.
So like my school had like a no junk food rule, which I hate that so much.
For you or the kids?
For the kids, to the point where they would take stuff out of my students' lunches at lunchtime and put a note like, make healthy choices.
No. That's the parents' job. That's the parents' decision.
When I tell you I flipped out. Well, I'll tell you in a second, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's okay.
One morning, one of my students had a hot chocolate in winter. She was so cute. She came in with like her little mittens and she had like a hot cocoa from 7-Eleven. She freaking tried to come and take it off of my student.
The teacher?
Yes, from down the hall. And I was like, do not snatch things out of my kids' hands. Do not police what they're eating. Do not, just go. And she also once, this is the only other thing that really irked me. She came into my room once and I would like arrive and leave at contract time. I was very pregnant that year. She came in and goes, wow, I wish I was as efficient as you, because clearly you do your job better than I do since you leave and arrive at contract time.
No, ma'am, I just have better boundaries than you.
That's exact. Mm-hmm. So like it got to the point where my colleagues would like see her like do something or she would say something to me. They would all be like, because they know like I'm like, yeah, so that was interesting. I was going to tell you another story, but now I forget.
Was it,
It's about
the same lady?
No, that's why I was going to tell you something else, but it was another colleague that I didn't like.
That we were talking about the food, they were no junk food.
I don't know.
The note to make healthy choices.
A parent.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so speaking of being heavily pregnant, one of the worst interactions I ever had with a parent was in third grade. It was related to the food thing.
Not kindergarten again? That's crazy.
Oh man, I loved kindergarten. I loved my parents. I loved my colleagues. I loved my kids. I had some odd ducks at times. I had my first year teaching, I had a parent stand outside of my room with a sign saying, "There's bullies in room 1. There's bullies in room 1," and try to like push my kids over to come in my room. And I was like, please go to the office and sit there. Do not touch my kids. Do not come in my room.
What was the reason? Why?
It was very sad, actually. The child was having absence seizures and he was hallucinating. And he would visualize children as monsters and say that they were scaring him. And the mother was so convinced, of course, that her child is not lying. But she would call me every day and I'd say, "Ma'am, I do not see him being bullied. I do not see this happening. We're with him. We have an IA who also is alerted of this." You know, one day she even came. I said, "Come on into my room, like please shadow him and join us and like see what's going on yourself." And he looked her in the eyes and said, "Mommy, it just happened and you didn't do anything." And so we kind of figured it out. But in the interim, she was very, very, very like, something is going on in this classroom and they're not doing anything. And that was very heartbreaking, obviously. And like, I was just like, that's why I was like, come in. Like,
We don't know what's going on. Like, it must have been really hard to tell if, like, something was wrong or if he was making it up.
Exactly.
And that's, oh my gosh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, but when you're in kindergarten and you've never really been away from home, so much happens in kindergarten when you're like a parent, you're letting your child go for the first time often. And then they change a lot. They're independent for the first time. They're experiencing things alone for the first time. So it's like you're nervous, but also like things like that'll come out that you would never know unless they were away from you and experiencing life. So he's doing very well now.
Good.
You know, everything he needed, but that was I was like, there's no bullies in here.
There's no. Carry on. Move on. So that one was kindergarten.
That was kindergarten.
But okay, so tell me about the third grade lady.
Oh, so the food thing, right?
Okay.
They took her kid's food out of his lunchbox, which makes me...
She took... Oh, the lady, the teacher.
Somebody at lunch, like a lunch monitor, took his chips.
Oh.
And she calls me freaking out.
His mom.
Screaming.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Plot twist. I was not at school that day. I was 9 months pregnant. I was like 34 weeks pregnant, actually. Laying in bed because I was having like some hip issues. I was in pain a lot. Whole other conversation. I'm fine. But she called me and I don't know. I always pick up my phone for parents, even when I'm maybe...
Frazz.
My colleagues are like, don't set that precedent because then you're going to send those kids to 4th grade and they're going to not understand like the boundaries of it all. So I would be like, yes, I'm sorry. But I don't know. She never calls me. So I was like, I'm just laying here. Let me see what's going on. She was freaking the freak out. She's screaming at me. And I am like trying to get a word in. And I'm like, man, what's going on? Tell me and then finally I'm like, you need to stop yelling at me. And I'm crying. My husband like busts the door open and is like,
what's going on?
What's happening? Like, you're supposed to be resting. And I'm like, I am so pregnant and in so much pain and you're yelling at me and I don't even know what you're talking about. And she goes, you know what? You're so right. You're so right. I'm so sorry. And she's like, she like totally snapped out of it. And I was like, what's going on? I just want to help, but I'm really overwhelmed.
So tell me what's happening.
So we chatted. I called my principal and I'm like, I just yelled at so-and-so's mom. But this is a parent who notoriously at multiple different schools, because she had different kids in different grades, was very passionate and loud.
So she was a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my principal was like, well, maybe she won't do that to another person.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the year, when I was leaving on maternity leave, I had all my stuff and she gave me a beautiful gift for my daughter. She handmade these bows that are huge and so cute.
Oh.
And she was like, I am really sorry. She was like, I just got I just felt like nobody was listening to me ever about like my child's needs. And I felt like I had to come to you on the defense because that's just the experience I've had. And she was like, I'm sorry that we had that interaction. And I was like, no, I'm glad that we had this conversation.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
No skin off my back. I'm sorry I yelled at you. I have never done that in my life. I don't know what possessed me. But
I love it.
It led to like
a good, yes.
It's like a very human moment, like versus like parent to teacher, which can be like a very like contentious relationship.
Mom.
It was like parent to parent, person to person.
It like humanized you to her.
Very much so.
I think she needed that.
Yeah, and her to me, she wasn't just a bulldozer. She was so used to having to fight for things, and I'd be pissed if somebody took my kids' food. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's your choice as a parent.
And I don't like it as a teacher. I mean, I was the first person to be like, give them back their Fritos. I don't care, But yeah, so that was a really interesting moment. But that was one of those moments where I was like, wow, I had totally thought that we were going to have like a big fight. And it ended up being like, we just needed to listen to each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. Have you found something else that you do a lot in your content is like gentle parenting?
Yeah.
Have you found a lot of like, I'm trying to think of how to word this. A lot of people give gentle parenting a bad rep.
Yes.
what are you, as like both a mom and a kindergarten teacher, tell me your thoughts on that.
I'm trying not to be too candid, but the children that I have had the most difficult time with were parented very harshly.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they will
rebel.
Yeah, they kind of give what they get. And if somebody takes something off of them and they do something they don't like, they'll hit them. Or they'll like yell at them. Or they'll, you know, be very like acting out. Because they just think that's problem solving. That, you know. And of course, like I teach really little kids. So it's very developmentally appropriate to hit. It just is. Like, you know, kids don't really, they're like puppy people is what I call them. So they have their own interactions that it's like, you learn these things. And if they're still like hitting willy-nilly by the end of the year, you might like call the parent and be like, I don't know, we need to like figure out what's going on with this. But there's a certain way that kids behave that I have seen is very difficult. And it's usually because their parents or their caregivers are really hard on them.
Interesting.
Or kids that have experienced certain types of trauma that, I mean, that's why I harp that trauma-informed teaching is so freaking important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that, you have to almost undo certain things that kids experience.
Absolutely.
To no fault of their own, you know?
Yeah, they can't help it.
No. And sometimes life circumstances, like sometimes their caregivers can't even help it. You know, whatever. But so I wanted to get the words right because I don't want to miss the words. But so authoritative is really gentle parenting, and we really should be rebranding it as like calling it authoritative because people are thinking of permissive parenting.
Okay.
They're thinking of, oh baby, whatever. I'm never going to tell you no. I'm never going to set a boundary. Like, you know, whatever.
That's permissive parenting.
Permissive.
Okay.
And that's what people are confusing as gentle parenting when actually gentle parenting is authoritative parenting, where they're like setting a boundary, but it's kind of like
talking about it.
Talking
like, with them and not at them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is huge. And people think, and when they're that little, it can't be a lot of words. It can't be like a monologue like I do in my videos. That's just for the camera.
Yeah, that's just for us adults to enjoy.
But I do try to keep like one or two things in there that's like real-ish.
Yeah.
A tool or a word or whatever. But yeah, when you set boundaries, you should and do still set boundaries in authoritative parenting. But you are like explaining why. It's not because I said so. It's, you know, you're kind of doing it with them, which is great
for their
development. And it does help them because at this level, so often they're just, modeling is the greatest way to teach young children because they will just reflect back at you so much. And that's a really great way to help them to interact with other people. Because if you're on the playground and somebody does something you don't like, maybe you are more equipped to deal with it if you've had a caregiver say, you know what, I don't like when you hit me. I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave the room because you don't get access to me if you're going to harm me.
Yeah.
Versus like, you know, hit you back.
Yeah, because that also teaches them that kind of behavior is acceptable.
Yeah, because that's what they're shown.
That's what their role model is doing.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's great. I really, really believe in it. And I have so many kids that I would meet, and I've met some really exceptional parents and really exceptional kids. And when I encounter someone like that, I'll go up to the caregiver and be like, hey, what the heck do you do? How are you so great? How is your kid so great? What's going on there? And 9 times out of 10, they would tell me like, oh, I listened to them. I went to therapy. I know my emotional triggers so that I don't take it out on my child. Or, you know, I know therapy isn't accessible to everybody, but like a self-help book, a course, whatever. You know, knowing yourself can really help you serve your child. And it really makes awesome kids.
Yes. You know who has such a phenomenal child?
Tell me.
Faith's son, Brady, is like the best kid.
He is.
He's such... For those, we're talking about Miss Bench, Mrs. Bench Fidget Toys Plus.
Yes.
Her son, Brady, is like one of the best kids.
He's amazing.
I love him. He's such a bro.
Yeah.
Like,
but
not like
so
the
respectful.
He's so respectful.
And he's a teenager.
He's a respectful, well-behaved, self-aware teenager. I'm like, how? She's like, I don't know, man.
But she's great.
So good. She's amazing. She's an amazing human being.
And he's reflecting back at her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You've spent time with Brady.
No, but I know so much about Brady because she tells me stories about Brady all the time. And I'm just like, wow, I've never heard a teenager react that way. So calm, level-headed, and like thoughtful. You know?
I've spent time with him like on 2 or 3 occasions. I love him. He's such a good kid. And he loves his mom so much.
That's amazing.
It's so cute. I love it. I love it. What do you think are some, so other than people confusing it with permissive parenting, what are some other misconceptions that you think people have surrounding this idea of gentle parenting? Because I think like you can also use gentle parenting in classrooms with tiny humans.
Oh, absolutely.
Wonderful.
In your classroom management.
Yes.
And like this is actually something I've thought about a lot.
Yeah.
I was recently thinking about like all the methodologies that I used in classroom management because I'm such a nerd. Like I love learning about different schools of thought around managing a classroom. And then I was like, man, this really parallels what we do with like gentle parenting and authoritative parenting. And I was like, this is really cool. So like when you go into the classroom, there's one thing that you can do through like responsive classroom where you like create your classroom norms together.
Okay.
And that gives your students so much buy-in because you're thinking and imagining what you want your classroom to look, feel, and sound like.
Right.
And together you're coming up with, well, what are we going to do to achieve that? That's really similar in a lot of ways to like how you would approach a child in like a situation of like, they're being quote unquote disrespectful,
right?
For lack of a better word, you know, like how do you want to be treated? And like showing them that like I'm going to go back to hitting because I have a 2-year-old. So if somebody smacks me, I don't want to feel like that.
Yeah.
That is not fun for me.
Yeah.
So my boundary is I'm leaving or you're leaving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like imagining together like what you want to feel like and creating that is something you do in the classroom.
Absolutely.
It feels very similar to gentle parenting to me.
I think it's very similar.
And also like walking students through like conflict resolution and like helping them understand like, because when they're that little, they do not have empathy. They're still in the egocentric stage of development until roughly 7.
Right.
So you can't say like, think about how you would feel necessarily because they don't really get it.
Right.
But like, look at your friend's face. What emotion do you think they're feeling right now? Like, how can we make them feel better? What action steps can we take together? Like, you can really walk them through how to repair a relationship. And that's really important in the classroom. And that's something that I think instead of like the classic authoritarian classroom management might look like, go sit in the hallway. You're not going to get recess because you did this. Or go clip down. Go turn your card. Like these very punitive punishments that have no connection to the action that caused harm. That doesn't work. Like,
no.
That is not going to teach them diddly squat other than you made me feel embarrassed. You made me feel mad. And me, all I feel is bad things. So maybe they're not gonna like be able to help the other person. Maybe they're not gonna be able to like reflect on their own thinking because like they're just upset. You like
absolutely
squishing a kid down isn't going to make them obedient.
No. And I think people don't really realize that just taking the 5 seconds to explain why to a kid can really make such a difference because I'm about to sneeze. Nope, it ran away.
I hate when that happens.
It ran away. It got scared. Like, as kids develop out of the egocentric mindset, like their brain develops and they can actually start developing empathy. When you explain to them why, it helps them start not only thinking about like what they just did or like what is happening now, but it also helps them in the future when thinking about similar instances, they haven't been explained why. They start to understand why things happen. Like my college professor in my education class told me her story when she realized that gentle parenting, explaining why, like taking the time to really explain, not just because I said so, or because this is what we do. Like, she realized when her son was having a dinner with soccer teammates after a soccer game, right? And they all went to something like the Golden Corral. And the boys started spitting spitballs at each other, right?
Yeah.
And her young daughter, like this was soccer rec, like they were maybe in middle school, so her daughter was very young. And her daughter, like, called her brother out and was like, you need to not do that. And he's like, well, I'm not getting them on you. And she's, no, you're making a mess for the people who have to clean this up.
Yeah.
And because my professor would always explain to her, like, when you throw things on the floor, someone has to come by and pick it up, and it's more work for them, and you don't like picking it up, so they don't like picking it up. And so that, like, showed her in a future instance, oh, my mom told me that I should stop doing that because it's not right and it makes people's days harder. So now I'm going to reflect that behavior and do the same thing for someone else. And, like, I don't think some people realize how powerful that can be and how powerful that can be in, like, shaping who your children become.
Yeah.
Because if you give them the tools to create that empathy early on, then they become much more considerate human beings as they grow older because they understand why to do kind things. They understand why to do considerate and helpful things. And if you don't give them those tools, how are they,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is harder.
It is harder. It is harder.
It is so, it's so funny. When I was in my classroom, I remember so many times I'd be like, man, if I had a clip chart, I would never in a million years, I think we should burn clip charts in the parking lots, okay? I hate that. But you can recognize in a moment when your class is like rowdy or a kid's being like really defiant, the easy thing to do is to like squish it.
Yeah.
But we can't.
It's much harder.
So bad for them developmentally, and it's unkind, and it's not helpful for literally anyone, you or them or any of their peers.
It's better for us as adults to have to emotionally regulate ourselves, that we don't blow up and we don't explode, and we have those calming techniques. Like, it's not healthy for you to fly off the handle. Like, sometimes you have bad days, and sometimes you lose it. And that happens. We are human.
That is not the goal.
That's not the goal.
We're not trying to curate that in this space.
And I think it's important to, like, show children that, yes, sometimes you can lose it, and that happens. And if you lose it, it is a human tendency. But this is what we try to do. It is much harder to stay calm and have those conversations and answer the why question for the 30th time that day. Because in the long run, that's just so much healthier for both you and your child.
Yep.
Because even think about, like, if any time, why? You just tell them to shut up.
Right.
Eventually, they're going to stop asking you questions.
Yeah.
And in 10 years, why? You used to be so inquisitive. Well, we used to talk all the time. Well, we used to whatever. But at some point, that kid's going to shut down.
Yeah.
When you allow them to ask and you allow them to be curious and creative, like, that's what expands their mind. And that's when they know that they can ask you anything. And that's when they know they can talk to you about things. Like, it's about how you respond to them early on, even when it grinds your gears.
And it takes so long.
It does. I don't even have kids, and I know because my friends' kids are getting to the age where they can talk. And I'm like, hey.
No.
Hey.
Yeah. And, like, talking them through, like, why we do a certain thing, or why we make a decision, or why this is the boundary, and really maintaining that boundary.
Or, like, let me tell you something. I used to go to the grocery store with my mom all the time. I just made a TikTok about this not that long ago.
Goodness.
I used to go to the grocery store with my mom all the time, and I would watch her every time she got a carton of eggs. I would see her open them and touch them.
Oh, yeah.
And then put them in her cart. And I don't know why, because I asked so many questions as a child. And my mom always answered, like, this is probably just, like, one that got missed or one that got skipped or whatever. Maybe I was daydreaming or ADHD, I forgot it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, like, I never asked her, or I never got an answer to like why she does that.
Yeah.
And so like when I grew up and I became an adult, I would go to the grocery store and I would take the eggs and I would open them. Yep. Those are eggs. And I don't know, I saw my mom do it. So I was gonna like, that must be what adults do.
Right.
Like that I never even like questioned it. And so that's just a note to parents, you know, that like what you do and what you say and how you react to things and how you handle situations do stick with your kids, whether you realize they see it or not. Because I'm sure if my mom realized that I noticed that and I didn't know why you looked at eggs, she would have told me. Like literally, when I told her this, like not that long ago, she was like, never even thought to explain it to you. Yeah. Like, just because they don't ask doesn't mean they're not watching. It doesn't mean they don't carry that. Like, I was like 27 years old before I realized why you look at eggs. Because I just watched my mom do it.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Kids are so funny.
Yeah.
I love it.
Do you think there are any other misconceptions about whether it's kindergarten teaching or gentle parenting or like anything else that you want to touch on before we skedaddle?
I mean, no, I don't think so. I mean,
anything that you want to, last thoughts you want to leave people with?
No, I don't know.
It's a lot of pressure. I know. It's so much pressure.
What do I want to say? I don't know. I just think that kids are amazing. And like, if you really treat children like human beings, we could solve so many problems.
I agree with that.
It would just help developmentally so much if everyone was just treating children like people.
Yeah.
Like whole humans.
Like it's
with
not a puppy
rights
dog.
and feelings and thoughts.
Yeah.
You know?
Agreed.
And you don't have to talk in the silly voice that I talk in my videos to be a gentle parent. You just have to regulate your own emotions and just, you know, think how you would want to be treated.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you want things explained to you?
I love that. I love it. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Literally anytime.
Literally, like, we're going to have to start these FaceTimes. We decided we have to spend more time together is really the problem we're all facing.
We only see each other, like, a couple times a year.
I hate it. No, we need to, these FaceTimes are going to happen. You mean Faith?
Back in the pandemic time, well, we're still in a pandemic, but it's epidemic now. And
I don't know the terms.
Anyway,
it's one of the things.
Back in 2020, when we were just babies on the internet,
Jackbox games.
Yes,
we should do that again.
We used to like hang out virtually.
We need to do that more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll invite Brady. We'll invite Faith's child.
Can you have your child on?
We need even teams. Like I don't know. I love it so much. Well, thank you guys also for hanging out with us. I hope you love Frazz as much as I do, because I love this woman.
I hope you love Rebecca as much as I do.
I love you.
I know they love you as well.
Literally every episode is like, I love this person so much. I don't think people really understand. Like, when you find your people in the content world, I'm like, you are part of my soul.
Yeah.
You are so important.
And
to me.
It's very important to find your people.
Mm-hmm. This is a mean industry. It's a weird industry. It's cutthroat. The companies, the people, the mean trolls.
We've been through it. But we're here.
Yeah.
Because we have each other.
Exactly. We find the good ones.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. See y'all next week. Bye, my lovelies. Ladies, we all know that feeling of when you come home from a long day at work and all you want to do is take off your uncomfortable bra. I know that feeling all too well, which is why I started buying from Honey Love. And it doesn't just stop there. They have shapewear, leggings, tank tops, all equally as comfortable. Treat yourself to the best bras on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/Rebecca. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/Rebecca to find your perfect fit.